There's a building just outside West Pine Hollow that no one talks about anymore. Once a schoolhouse, it's now a forgotten ruin buried deep in the woods, windows shattered, floors rotted, and a silence so heavy it feels alive. Over the past decade, 4 people, each unrelated, each vanishing at different times, entered that building and were never seen again. Their stories are scattered across police reports, 911 calls, old journals, and fragments of footage too strange to explain. No bodies were ever recovered, no clear signs of struggle. Just one thing in common: they all ended at the same place. Tonight, we trace their paths and follow them right up to the moment they disappeared. Story 1. The Vlogger Who Vanished. Jason Kim was a rising star in the urban exploration scene on YouTube, known for his eerie cinematic walkthroughs of decaying buildings, forgotten amusement parks, and Cold War bunkers. He had amassed over 600,000 subscribers in just under a year. His followers loved his calm narration, crisp camera work, and, most of all, his fearlessness. Jason went where most wouldn't, alone, at night, without backup. In March of 2022, Jason posted a teaser for his next video, exploring the abandoned Pine Hollow schoolhouse. Locals say it's cursed. The building had a quiet but strange reputation online. A few Reddit threads described sightings of lights flickering inside at odd hours, or animal carcasses found nailed to the door. But no viral legends, no Slenderman tier myths. It was just unsettling. And that was enough for Jason. The schoolhouse was off a barely marked logging road, deep in a dense part of West Pine Hollow forest. Jason uploaded a 35-minute live stream to Instagram that night, timestamped 11:18 p.m., just before he entered. He was smiling, slightly shivering from the cold. All right, this is the one. Got my gear, got my headlamp, and I left a pin for my location with my sister, just in case. Let's see what's inside this thing. That was the last time anyone saw him. What happened next came from his GoPro, recovered 2 months later by a pair of hikers who stumbled upon it near a dried-up creek, half a mile behind the schoolhouse. The footage is time-stamped, battery drained at 2:44 a.m., and runs a total of 93 minutes. It's still available on a few mirrored sites, though most platforms removed it citing disturbing content. The footage begins normally. Jason enters through a side door, flashlights sweeping across peeling walls, desks scattered like a storm had swept through, blackboards with faint chalk writing that read, "Do not return." He jokes nervously, "Oh great, it's like someone wants this to be a horror movie." The audio picks up something strange around the 22-minute mark, a thudding sound, like a heavy footstep from the floor above. Jason freezes. "That could be an animal," he whispers. Then, louder, "Hello?" No response. He walks upstairs, carefully, and finds a long hallway with classroom doors on either side. Each one is open, except for the third on the left. That door is closed, and its handle appears wet, glistening strangely under the flashlight. He tries the door, locked. He moves on. Then, at minute 39, a child's voice is heard, faint, laughing. Jason spins around. No one there. "This isn't funny," he says into the dark. His voice trembles. At minute 51, Jason enters what appears to be the main auditorium. The stage is partially collapsed, and in the middle of the floor is a pile of what looks like old-school uniforms, perfectly folded. On top, a single red backpack, zipped shut. He opens it. Inside are his own wallet and car keys. Jason panics. "What the hell? This is impossible. I had these in my truck." The camera shakes as he runs back down the hallway, then abruptly stops. In the doorway, blocking his way out, is a figure. It's not moving, just standing. Jason gasps and backs away. "I don't want trouble, man. I'm leaving. Just let me go." The figure doesn't move. He tries a classroom window. Nailed shut. He checks another. Same. The last 5 minutes of footage are completely silent, except for Jason's heavy breathing and the creaking of floorboards. He whispers, "I just need to make it out. I just need to make it out." Then the camera drops. We see Jason's feet being pulled backward, his body dragged out of frame. His hand tries to grab the camera but misses, and then silence. For nearly 90 seconds, the GoPro films the ceiling, until something walks by. Something tall, pale, with impossibly long arms. No face. It passes the camera, stops, bends down. The video cuts out. Police searched the schoolhouse 3 times after the footage surfaced. No trace of Jason. No backpack, no wallet, no clothes. Only his tripod, neatly folded and set upright by the side door. Jason's YouTube channel remains untouched to this day. The final pinned comment on his teaser video simply reads, "Don't follow the lights. They know when you're alone." No one knows who posted it. Story 2, the 911 basement call. On a cold November night in 2014, a chilling 911 call was received by the dispatch center in rural Somerset County, Pennsylvania. The voice on the other end belonged to a young girl, no older than 10. She was whispering, trembling, clearly trying not to be heard. "There's someone in the basement," she said. "He doesn't know I'm here. Please send someone." The dispatcher, a veteran named Carol Wexler, began the standard protocol, trying to keep the girl on the line, asking her name, her location, but the girl couldn't or wouldn't answer clearly. Her voice was muffled. All she said was, "I'm hiding under the stairs. Please don't let him find me." Then the call abruptly ended. Wexler immediately traced the number, but the line was unregistered. No address. It pinged off a rural cell tower near Brindle Road, a mostly abandoned stretch of backwoods and farmland. The only notable location in the area? An old, derelict apartment complex known as Oakmere Residences, condemned since the late 90s. Police units were dispatched. They arrived at Oakmere just before midnight. Flashlights cutting through the mist, they entered the crumbling lobby. Rotting furniture, broken tiles, and years of graffiti greeted them. The building had been stripped of copper, wiring, even doors in some parts. Yet one thing stood out. The basement door, which had previously been boarded shut, was hanging open. Officers Mendoza and Beckett descended into the dark. The smell of mildew and rot was thick. The only light came from their flashlights. The basement had a long corridor with rusted lockers, shattered glass, and something odd. Toys. A plastic tea set, a stuffed rabbit missing one eye, a coloring book with fresh crayon marks. They found the staircase under which the girl had claimed to be hiding. Nothing. No child. No signs of struggle. But there was a small plastic flip phone tucked in the dust behind a support beam. It matched the timestamp of the call. Forensics found no prints. The phone had no SIM card, no call history. Just a single contact in the memory. Mom. Things got stranger from there. The following day, Officer Beckett reviewed the body cam footage from their search. At exactly 0:47 a.m., as the two officers were turning to leave the basement, there was a faint audio anomaly, a whisper. Slowed down and enhanced, the voice said, "He's still here." Neither officer heard it in real time. 3 days later, Officer Mendoza returned to Oakmere alone, without authorization. His car was found abandoned on Brindle Road, engine still warm. His dashcam captured him parking, stepping out, and walking toward the building. He never came back. Search teams scoured the area for 2 weeks. Dogs picked up his scent inside Oakmere, but lost it near the basement. All that remained was his flashlight, found under the same staircase the girl mentioned. As for the girl, investigators began combing through missing persons records, hoping to find a match. One name surfaced repeatedly in local urban legend forums: Emily Carver, a girl who went missing from Oakmere in 1997. She had lived there with her mother in apartment 3B before it was condemned. The story went that her mother had a history of mental illness. Neighbors reported strange noises from the basement, and there were rumors that Emily had been locked down there to pray away her sins. CPS had received several calls, but never followed through before the building was closed. Emily was never found. Her mother was institutionalized in 1998, diagnosed with severe schizophrenia, and died in care 2 years later. When Emily's file was reopened, detectives found an old photograph of her holding the same stuffed rabbit found during the initial basement search. The community quickly descended into rumor and speculation. Some said Emily was haunting the building. Others believed she was alive, hiding for years, feeding off scraps, or worse. A few theorists online pointed to a serial predator using the abandoned building as a base. But then came the second call. This time, it came in at 3:12 a.m., nearly 6 months later. The voice was identical. The same girl, same trembling tone. "He's back. Please. He's angry. I tried to be quiet." Dispatch again tried to trace the call. This time, it pinged off a tower 10 miles west of Brindle Road. Deep forest. No known buildings nearby, except one. A dilapidated house registered to a man named Albert Trask. The same man who, coincidentally, had been the maintenance supervisor at Oakmere until it closed. Police descended on the property that night. The house was a nightmare. Walls covered in newspapers, unwashed dishes piled for years, and more disturbing, a basement door padlocked from the outside. Inside the basement, dozens of children's toys, photo clippings, and boxes filled with old cell phones. But no girl. No signs of anyone alive. One detective, during a quiet moment in the investigation, noted that many of the toys matched items described in old missing persons cases. In fact, the plastic tea set found at Oakmere was identical to one listed in a 1993 disappearance from a neighboring county. Trask himself had died 2 years earlier. His body had been found in his truck, an apparent suicide, miles away from his property. He left no note. The investigation into his connection to the disappearances hit a dead end. To this day, the identity of the girl on the phone remains unconfirmed. Some believe it's Emily Carver, caught in some temporal loop, calling out from the past. Others believe she was a lure, something mimicking a child's voice to draw rescuers in. Several first responders who entered Oakmere have reported nightmares, headaches, and in one case, a nervous breakdown after spending more than 10 minutes in the basement. The 911 recording is still classified, but a short 12-second clip leaked in a forum in 2019. It features the girl whispering, followed by a faint dragging sound. Then something else. A second voice, male, deep, barely audible. It says, "She told you not to come." Story 3. The Missing Officer. Officer Jeremy Holt was the kind of cop you'd trust with your life. 10 years on the force, respected, calm under pressure, and known for his sharp instincts. He worked the night shift in Brookhaven, a small wooded town in upstate New York, where crime was rare and odd things were often explained away by the fog or the old houses shifting at night. On the evening of February 6, 2017, Holt signed on duty like any other night. Dispatch assigned him a call just past midnight. A noise complaint from an abandoned farmhouse off Route 11 near the edge of Dunn's Hollow, a place locals usually avoided after dark. The property had been vacant since 1982, when the last occupants, the Griggs family, vanished without a trace. Their story had become local legend. A family dinner left unfinished, lights still on, car in the driveway, but not a soul inside. It wasn't the kind of place people called in about, which is why dispatch noted it was strange that the complaint came from a landline, one not registered since the 90s. Officer Holt responded without hesitation. His dash cam footage shows him leaving the station, heading northeast, and arriving at the property at 12:46 a.m. The 2-story farmhouse sat in complete darkness, rotting wood and boarded-up windows shrouded in thick fog. Holt radioed dispatch to report his arrival, then stepped out with a flashlight and body camera. What happened next has never been fully explained. The footage shows Holt walking up the creaking porch and pushing open the front door, which was strangely unlocked. Inside, dusty furniture, cobwebs, but no sign of recent activity. He called out, "Brookhaven Police! Is anyone here?" No answer. For the next 10 minutes, the camera records his slow movement through the house, living room, kitchen, narrow hallway. It's silent except for his boots on the wooden floor and the occasional tap of something falling from the ceiling, maybe plaster or insects. Then, things shift. In the footage, Holt opens a door to the basement. The stairs creak under his weight as he descends. The light flickers once. His flashlight beam catches something strange. A child's shoe, oddly clean, lying at the bottom of the stairs. He lifts it, frowns, and says quietly, "This wasn't on the report." A few more steps and he pans his flashlight to the far side of the basement. That's when you hear it. A dragging sound. Faint. Like something heavy being pulled across concrete. Holt calls out again. No response. He raises his flashlight and the camera freezes. Not completely, but it begins glitching. Horizontal tears across the screen, audio static. Holt breathes heavily and mutters, "What the hell is this?" Then he screams. Just once. A sharp, terrified cry before the feed goes black. Dispatch tried to reach him for the next 20 minutes. No response. Another unit was sent out, arriving at 1:31 a.m. The house was empty. No sign of Holt. No cruiser out front. No boot prints, no flashlight, nothing. The only thing they found was his body camera, sitting on the basement floor, still recording, but only white noise and a faint humming. The footage retrieved from the camera went viral on local forums after being leaked. Internet sleuths combed every frame for clues. At one point, just before Holt screams, a silhouette appears at the edge of the light. A tall figure, unnaturally still, with elongated limbs and a face that doesn't reflect light. The department launched a full-scale search. Helicopters, dogs, neighboring towns all involved. For 48 hours, the forest around Dunn's Hollow was swarming with search teams. They found Holt's cruiser 6 miles away, engine still warm, keys in the ignition, driver's door open. It was parked in the middle of a narrow dirt trail that led nowhere. Strangely, the cruiser's GPS showed it never left the farmhouse. There were no tracks to explain how it got there. His radio, phone, and sidearm were all missing. That should have been the end of it. But 7 days later, at 3:12 a.m., a 911 call came in. Static at first. Then a voice, whispering, "Tell them I'm still here." The dispatcher asked for the caller to identify themselves. No reply. The only other words recorded were, "He wears faces. Don't come back." The call was traced. It came from Officer Holt's missing radio, which had been deactivated, locked, and tagged as evidence. Things spiraled after that. 3 officers who had entered the farmhouse during the initial search all resigned within a month. One claimed to be plagued by hallucinations. He saw people walking through mirrors. Another was arrested in a neighboring town, found wandering naked in the woods, muttering about the man beneath the floorboards. Detectives found inconsistencies in the house's layout. Floor plans didn't match. The basement, measured from the outside, should have been larger. One wall didn't line up. A construction team was brought in to investigate. Behind the wall, a narrow tunnel, dirt, brick, rotting beams. At the end of it, a hidden room. Inside the room were hundreds of photographs. Every photo showed the same figure, slightly out of focus, sometimes lurking behind windows, sometimes in open fields, but always the same shape, always watching. In the center of the room was a table. On it, Holt's badge and his notebook. The last entry read, "There's something underneath. It doesn't like the light." It wasn't the house. It was what they brought with them. Authorities sealed the property. The department deemed the area unsafe and blocked access to Dunn's Hollow indefinitely. Internally, they classified the incident under unsolved with unusual circumstances. Publicly, they called it a disappearance during a standard call response. But locals still whisper. They say if you drive past Dunn's Hollow around 3 a.m., you might see headlights in the woods. A lone figure in uniform walking along the road. His face, they say, is always turned away. And if you call out to him, he'll stop, turn, and show you a face that isn't his. Story 4, The Journal in the Dirt. The journal was discovered purely by accident. A group of urban explorers, 3 college kids from Ohio, had come across the abandoned Harrington textile factory after following a tip on Reddit about hidden tunnels beneath the structure. They weren't professional explorers, just thrill seekers with GoPros, LED lights, and a fascination for forgotten places. Their goal was to post another edgy video online. Instead, they found something far darker. The Harrington textile factory had been shut down in 1984 after a fire in the southern wing killed 6 workers. The company went bankrupt shortly after, and the site had been untouched ever since. According to local legend, at least 2 people had gone missing there in the 90s, but no bodies were ever found. Over time, the town learned to ignore the place. No one went near it, except, of course, people like these kids. They entered the building around 11 p.m., filming everything. The inside was a graveyard of collapsed beams, rusted sewing machines, and shattered windows. But in the northwest corner of the factory, beyond a series of storage rooms, they found a metal grate buried beneath layers of dirt and fallen plaster. With effort, they pried it open and descended into what appeared to be a sub-basement, one that wasn't on any building map they could find online. It was in this dirt-floored, low-ceilinged room that they discovered the journal. It was stuffed inside a moldy duffel bag, buried under a sheet of scrap metal. The leather cover was cracked and warped by moisture, the pages yellowed and stuck together in places. The first few entries were mundane, written by someone named Melissa G., who appeared to be a textile worker back in the 80s. She talked about long shifts, loud machines, a cruel supervisor named Earl, and dreams of leaving the town behind. But as the journal continued, the tone changed. Melissa began describing strange noises in the factory late at night, mechanical grinding that came from the walls, even when the machines were off. She wrote about voices whispering her name through the vents. At first, she assumed it was the stress of long hours or coworkers playing tricks. But then she started finding things moved in her locker, hearing tapping under the floorboards, and even seeing figures at the edge of her vision. In one entry, she wrote, "Something is under the factory. I know it. There's a door beneath the boiler room that Earl said was welded shut for safety, but I swear I saw him go down there after hours, carrying something in a garbage bag. I heard screams. I tried to tell Margaret, but she just told me to shut up or I'd lose my job." The entries became increasingly frantic. She mentioned that more workers were disappearing, quietly, with no notice, no explanation. A man named Dennis vanished after his shift. A woman named Carla didn't come back from a lunch break. Management didn't report anything. They just handed out paychecks and kept the machines running. The final entry was dated April 3rd, 1984, 2 days before the fire that shut the factory down. It read, "I'm going down there tonight. I have a flashlight, rope, and my camera. If I don't come back, whoever finds this, please tell my parents. I think there's something alive down there, something that isn't human." That was it. The 3 students were visibly shaken after reading it. Their GoPro footage shows them debating whether to leave or find the hidden door Melissa mentioned. Curiosity won out. They headed to what was once the boiler room. Behind a fallen pipe and shattered concrete, they discovered a rusted metal hatch. It looked like it hadn't been opened in decades. The video shows one of them, a girl named Lacey, tugging on the wheel lock while the others filmed. After a struggle, it cracked open with a scream of metal and a gust of foul-smelling air. They entered. That's where the video ended. The footage was recovered from a hard drive mailed anonymously to a local news station a month later. The 3 students were never found. Police searched the building, but found no trace of them, no bodies, no signs of struggle. The journal was missing. The hatch they supposedly opened was sealed with fresh welds. It was as if nothing had ever happened. One of the investigators who reviewed the footage claimed he could hear something just beneath the audio, under the static of the final scene. A low, rhythmic thump, like breathing. Another swore that in the last 3 frames of the video, just before it cuts to black, you can see a figure in the shadows behind the students. It's not one of them. Something else. Something tall. No further leads ever surfaced, but every so often, the local police receive anonymous packages, each one containing a torn page from what appears to be Melissa G's journal. The handwriting is the same, but the entries are dated years after she was presumed dead. If these 4 stories have one thing in common, it's that they all lead back to the same place, an abandoned building that refuses to be forgotten. Whether it's a missing officer, a cryptic journal, or a 911 call that never should have happened, this building seems to absorb people and stories like a sponge and gives nothing back. No answers. No closure. Just silence. Maybe some places are left empty for a reason. Maybe the past doesn't always stay buried. And maybe, just maybe, some doors were never meant to be opened.